Ishwaran the storyteller. One night, Mahendra woke up from his sleep and saw a dark, cloudy form. He broke out into a cold sweat. Was it a ghost? The story was narrated to Ganesh by a young man, Mahendra by name. He was a junior supervisor in a firm which offered on hire supervisors at varying types of construction sites, factories, bridges, dams, and so on. Mahendra's job was to keep an eye on the activities at the work site. He had to keep moving from place to place every now and then, as ordered by his head office. From a coal mining area to a railway bridge construction site, from there after a few months to a chemical plant which was coming up somewhere. He was a bachelor. His needs were simple and he was able to adjust himself to all kinds of odd conditions. Whether it was an ill-equipped circuit house or a makeshift canvas tent in the middle of a stone quarry. But one asset he had was his cook, Ishwaran. The cook was quite attached to Mahendra and followed him uncomplainingly wherever he was posted. He cooked for Mahendra, washed his clothes, and chatted away with his master at night. He could weave out endless stories and anecdotes on varied subjects. Ishwaran also had an amazing capacity to produce vegetables and cooking ingredients seemingly out of nowhere in the middle of a desolate landscape with no shops visible for miles around. He would miraculously conjure up the most delicious dishes made with fresh vegetables within an hour of arriving at the zinc sheet shelter at the new workplace. Mahendra would be up early in the morning and leave for work after breakfast, carrying some prepared food with him. Meanwhile, Ishwaran would tidy up the shed, wash the clothes, and have a leisurely bath, pouring several buckets of water over his head, muttering a prayer all the while. It would be lunchtime by then. After eating, he would read for a while before dozing off. The book was usually some popular Tamil thriller running to hundreds of pages. Its imaginative descriptions and narrative flourishes would hold Ishwaran in thrall. His own descriptions were greatly influenced by Tamil authors that he read. When he was narrating even the smallest of incidents, he would try to work in suspense and a surprise ending into the account. For example, instead of saying that he had come across an uprooted tree on the highway, he would say, with eyebrows suitably arched and hands held out in a dramatic gesture, "The road was deserted and I was all alone. Suddenly I spotted something that looked like an enormous bushy beast lying sprawled across the road. I was half inclined to turn and go back, but as I came closer, I saw that it was a foreign tree with its dry branches spread out." Mahendra would stretch himself back in his canvas chair and listen to Ishwaran's tale uncritically. "The place I come from is famous for timber," Ishwaran would begin. "There is a richly wooded forest all around. The logs are hauled on to the lorries by elephants. They are huge, well-fed beasts. When they turn wild, even the most experienced mahout is not able to control them." After this prologue, Ishwaran would launch into an elaborate anecdote involving an elephant. One day, a tusker escaped from the timber yard and began to roam about, stamping on bushes, cheering up wild creepers, and breaking branches at will. "You know, sir, how an elephant behaves when it goes mad?" Ishwaran would get so caught up in the excitement of his own story that he would get up from the floor and jump about, stamping his feet in emulation of the mad elephant. "The elephant reached the outskirts of our town, breaking the fences down like matchsticks," he would continue. "It came into the main road and smashed all the stalls selling fruits, mud pots, and clothes. People ran helter-skelter in panic. The elephant now entered a school ground where children were playing, breaking through the brick wall. All the boys ran into the classrooms and shut the doors tight. The bees grunted and wandered about, pulling out the football goalpost, tearing down the volleyball net, kicking and flattening the drum kept for water, and uprooting the shrubs. Meanwhile, all the teachers had climbed up to the terrace of the school building, from where they helplessly watched the depredations of the elephant. There was not a soul below on the ground. The streets were empty as if the inhabitants of the entire town had suddenly disappeared. I was studying in the junior class at that time and was watching the whole drama from the rooftop. I don't know what came over me suddenly. I grabbed a cane from the hands of one of the teachers and ran down the stairs into the open. The elephant grunted and menacingly swung a branch of tree which it held in its trunk. It stamped its feet, kicking up a lot of mud and dust. It looked frightening, but I moved slowly towards it, stick in hand, People were watching the scene hypnotized from the nearby housetops. The elephant looked at me red-eyed, ready to rush towards me. It lifted its trunk and trumpeted loudly. At that moment, I moved forward and, mustering all my force, wagged its third toenail on the quick. The beast looked stunned for a moment. Then it shivered from head to foot and collapsed. At this point, Ishwaran would leave the story unfinished and get up mumbling, "I'll be back," after lighting the gas and warming up the dinner. Mahendra, who had been listening with rapt attention, would be left hanging. When he returned, Ishwaran would not pick up the thread of the story right away. Mahendra would have to remind him that the conclusion was pending. Well, a veterinary doctor was summoned to revive the animal. Ishwaran would shrug casually. 2 days later, it was led away by its maher to the jungle. Well, how did you manage to do it, Ishwaran? How did you bring down the beast? It has something to do with a Japanese art, I think, sir. Karate or jujutsu, it is called. I had read about it somewhere. It temporarily paralyzes the nervous system, you see. Not a day passed without Ishwaran recounting some story packed with adventure, horror and suspense. Whether the story was credible or not, Mahendra enjoyed listening to it because of the inimitable way in which it was told. Ishwaran seemed more than make up for the absence of a TV in Mahendra's living quarters.